Dragon Ball Super showed off so many forms from Super Saiyan Blue to Ultra Instinct that the original Super Saiyan God form got a little lost in the mix. Well, let's focus on it and see if we can't answer some of the mysteries behind the legendary form. Dragon Ball Super began with a new movie, a new villain, and a new form that would change Goku's hair color yet again. For a second there, though, it really seemed like there was nothing but doom and destruction destined for our heroes. The introduction of Beerus, the god of destruction, was one of the most memorable and disrespectful intros in the franchise. His arrival in the series came just off the heels of Goku's big win against Majin Buu. Sadly, he didn't get to enjoy this cosmic accomplishment for very long before Beerus rolled up and decided to show Goku a thing or two. We all watched in shock as Goku threw everything he had at Beerus only to get put down like he was friggin' Yajirobe. I am a big fan of the underutilized Super Saiyan 3 form, so I was pretty pumped to see it brought back when Goku went up against Beerus. All that excitement turned out to be for nothing as Beerus threw Goku down on his home turf, right in front of Mr. Bubbles and everything. So at this point, we all knew that there had to be another form to top SS3. I mean, it's not like they were gonna let Goku lose, right? Luckily, Shenron came in hot with all sorts of lost Saiyan knowledge and taught the team a complicated ritual that would allow Goku to ascend to God form. Only, he's never needed to use it since. Heck, Vegeta's even unlocked the form, no ritual required. That brings up the question, why was the ritual even necessary? If it could have been achieved with some hardcore God training, did they really need to stand in a Saiyan trust circle? The more important question might be why they didn't ask Shenron for this kind of advice a long time ago. Seriously, Super Saiyan God would have come in real handy during the Android saga. During his initial match with Beerus, Goku ran into a bit of a problem with his fancy new form. While he initially kept up with Beerus pretty well, he quickly lost his form and had to rely on his normal powers to finish the fight. This huge limit didn't exactly make the shiny new Saiyan form look as impressive as it would in years to come. Of course, none of this makes any sense when you consider the famous Goku vs. Frieza moment where their 5-minute fight lasted like a million episodes because they were supposedly moving so fast. Technically, Super Saiyan God is much faster. If that were consistent throughout the show, our CBR physicists tell us that Battle of the Gods should have lasted at least 300 hours. So still a little shorter than One Piece. Thankfully, the time limit was thrown out almost immediately. Goku and Vegeta did a little training with Whis and pretty much mastered the form. That being said, we have to wonder why there was a time limit to begin with. I'm starting to understand why this ancient Saiyan ritual was lost to time. As much as Saiyans love to talk during battle, a 5-minute time limit really isn't helpful. I know I've seen Vegeta monologue for like twice that. Now, one of the main tropes in Dragon Ball is the notion of ki and power levels. In DBZ especially, power levels and being able to read ki would often make or break a battle. Much of the early days of the series focused on characters freaking out over the power levels detected on scouters, or long Piccolo monologues about how a bad guy's power level was unstoppable. In Dragon Ball Super, however, things have gotten a good deal more complicated. You see, Goku and Vegeta graduated to a whole other level. The two of them now have access to something called God Ki, which is so powerful that supposedly mortals can't even detect it. Or can they? It's revealed later that one mortal actually is able to sense God Ki. The time-traveling assassin known as Hit somehow is able to sense God Ki without being able to access it. While he's had a few thousand years around the block, this does raise an interesting question. Can mortals learn to detect God Ki? Most of the Frieza Force still have to use scouters because they've not yet mastered the ability to sense ki on their own. At one time, Vegeta had to sport a scouter to be able to view a person's power level as well. Now he's able to sense it with the best of them. Could we perhaps see a day where someone like Piccolo learns how to detect the ki so that he can give a monologue explaining it to the other Z-fighters? I certainly hope so. The entire Super Saiyan God form seems to contradict with most of what we know about Saiyan fighting styles. From what we know, Saiyans weren't always known for their strategic skills. The God form is one that seems to prioritize speed and precision over brute force. That's probably why it became a lost art, to be honest. That being said, when Vegeta coupled it with Super Saiyan Blue, it was pretty awesome. He used the base God form for its speed and lesser stamina requirements to balance out Blue's power and draining cost. cost. It's entirely possible that this is the perfected usage of both forms. So perhaps the two forms aren't so much separated as they are two halves of the same coin that were always meant to work in tandem. That would comply with the philosophy of Dragon Ball so far, as strength, speed, and strategy have always had equal importance in the battles for Earth. The best victories achieved throughout the series have been the ones where all of these aspects were in balance with one another. It would only make sense if the God forms were the perfect embodiment of this ideal. There's something about the Super Saiyan God that I have a really hard time believing. According to Shenron, it had to be created by 6 good-hearted Saiyans. That right there seems to be a bit of a contradiction. As someone who has a master's degree in Saiyan history from the CBR Academy, I can tell you for a fact that the Saiyans have a long history of conquering planets, blowing stuff up, and generally being the biggest baddies in the galaxy. I mean, this is a race that literally shoots their babies to random planets so that they can prove themselves by conquering them. So it's really difficult for me to believe that there was once a really noble Saiyan god that wanted to destroy the conquerors we know now. Although, it is really easy for me to believe that he got distracted and failed to beat them in 5 minutes. I think the issue here could be what constitutes having a good heart by Saiyan morality. I mean, Vegeta was in that circle, and he's destroyed more alien villages than Anakin Skywalker. Perhaps the Saiyan virtues lie more in concepts like power, pride, loyalty, and fighting spirit. By that metric, Vegeta and Goku certainly qualify for godhood and then some. Also, I'm pretty sure there's some requirement about you having to have incredibly pointy hair. That's why Trunks never quite got there. Goku and the Saiyan gang have had a lot of fun over the years, perfecting a ton of versions of the Super Saiyan form. Frankly, I love all of them. Whether it's Goku's Super Saiyan 3, Vegeta's beefed-up Super Saiyan 2nd grade, or even just Gohan's low-key Super Saiyan 2, every variation has its own kind of fun. Heck, even Dragon Ball Super had fun with it by creating Trunks' Super Saiyan Rage that let him put the hurt on Zamasu. By comparison, the natural Super Saiyan God form is pretty boring. Sure, Super Saiyan Blue is a thing, but it's technically its own thing. For something that's called a god form, it doesn't really seem to have quite the same level of versatility. That being said, is that because such forms are impossible or just that they haven't been tried yet? While Goku and Vegeta both went through quite a lot to master Super Saiyan God, neither of them have really spent much time with it alone. They pretty much went straight for Super Saiyan Blue, and then Goku went for Ultra Instinct. They still pepper it in for variation at times, but for the most part, it's largely ignored. It stands to reason, now that Goku has surpassed Vegeta yet again, that he will have to come up with something new to match Ultra Instinct. Is it possible that we could see something like Super Saiyan God 2 or 3? It seems unlikely, but I would love if they utilized that red aura look a little more than they do at the moment. Do you guys agree, or do you like that they've committed harder to the Super Saiyan Blue aesthetic? Super Saiyan God bucked a lot of trends for new Super Saiyan forms. It didn't come with blonde hair, blue or green eyes, or sudden unexplained hair growth. It's also a more streamlined transformation that features less muscle mass and a more peaceful, fiery aura. This showed fans quickly that Super Saiyan God was going to rewrite the rules and leave all the old Super Saiyan questions behind. Like, what happens to all that extra hair when they turn back to their base forms? Does it go back into their heads? Do they just shed everywhere after a battle? Anyway, that being said, it does come with quite a few design questions of its own. Like, why do Goku and Vegeta's God forms all look a little different? Now, some of this could just be nitpicking, but it also could point to some revealing aspects about the designs and inner lives of all these characters. Goku's God form is lighter, while Vegeta's appears to be just a little bit darker. Could this possibly be because of Goku's good-natured soul versus Vegeta's tortured one? If so, does Goku then have a slightly more powerful God form than Vegeta? This could also pile on to reasons why Vegeta can never enter Ultra Instinct. If his soul is too conflicted to have that lighter God ki, it certainly wouldn't be able to handle the true state of the gods. The relationships between the makers of an anime adaptation and the original creators of the manga always have a bit of awkwardness to them. There are always inconsistencies and changes in the adaptation that can often leave one party bitter. This only gets more complicated when the anime is the one that's breaking new ground for the manga. So has this ever happened during Dragon Ball Super? One such story came about during the creation of the Super Saiyan God form. Evidently, designer Tadayoshi Yamamuro originally had a more muscular design in mind for it, even including a new cool cloak idea. Akira Toriyama came in with a, I think that's great, but why why don't we try something that's like the complete opposite of that? 3 guesses as to who won this argument. Do you see a cloak on Goku in Battle of the Gods? There are an awful lot of ancient Saiyan legends out there. There's the Super Saiyan, the legendary Super Saiyan, the Super Saiyan God. Evidently, the pre-King Vegeta era of Saiyan history was just full of monstrously powerful people destroying everything. That being said, it's unclear if there ever actually was a Super Saiyan God before Goku. The legend has it that 6 good-hearted Saiyans could make a god, but the legend also says that the past god failed to defeat the other Saiyans. As overpowered as Super Saiyan God is, you'd think that would be unlikely, even in 5 minutes. Heck, Base Frieza Death Starred all of them in 30 seconds. It's possible that the original Super Saiyan God wasn't actually able to make or keep the transformation. Thus, Goku may actually be the first Saiyan to truly ascend to godhood. Well, there you have it, all the unanswered mysteries about Super Saiyan God. Is there any sort of inconsistency that's been bothering you about this or any other form from Dragon Ball Super? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to CBR for more Dragon Ball action.